I am struggling with making this right now. I don't even know if I want to put this out there, but I feel like it's something that I could help other people with. And so if you are going through waiting for a scary diagnosis for your child and you're in this process, my heart goes out to you, and I hope that you could pull something from this in our story and what we're walking through and helping you in your journey of waiting to hear if there's something serious going on with your child. So if you are new here, my name is Sierra McDowell. On this channel, I talk about adoption, motherhood, and just kind of things that come up in life. So if you know anything about my family, you would know that we brought home our sweet boy from Colombia about a year and a half ago. So it really actually all begins before our son became our son and we were first sent his information. There had been a diagnosis placed on him that they actually ended up taking away because of how well that he was doing and progressing. When we spoke with an international adoption doctor, they had informed us that there was a possibility of there being something that could potentially be a little bit scary. And so when we were making our decision and bringing him home, we had to go through this process of understanding that we just need to have the peace of God and walking through this, no matter what it throws at us. And that is really kind of what takes place in parenting, is that you can't control everything. As much as we want to and protect our children, you never know really what's going to happen. And so we just decided that we were going to place that in God's hand. When we brought our sweet boy home, he hit the ground running. Like, yes, there was rough times and seasons and moments, don't get me wrong, but he just started to flourish and start to progress so well that all of those things that were in the back of our mind of possibilities were removed and taken off the shelf. But when you bring a child home from another country and that you don't have a lot of medical history on, you go and you see a lot of doctors to kind of get a baseline on things. So when we were at the neurologist and he started to ask me some questions about his prior diagnosis, that was taken away from him before we were even sent his information. So when the doctor asked me what I knew, and the limited information I had was that he would progress until he didn't, and life will ultimately be shorter. And he said, well, yes, but there's more to it. So can I explain this to you? My mind was literally going a million miles a freaking minute. When he looked at me and he said, do you want to know more? I was immediately like, absolutely, like, tell me everything so that I know how to prepare and I know what to do and I know what's next. When I asked him, is like, are you giving him this diagnosis, was my next question. And he said, no, I'm not. So I had a choice to make. The doctor was asking me what I want to know and what I don't. And I did not like my options. Neither one of them seemed like the right option and not one that I wanted to be presented with. And so I looked at the doctor and I said, no, I don't want to know. And he kind of was confused and gave me a side look of, why not? And I informed him because I cannot go down this path if we do not know that it is what it is. And I don't want to be searching for signs of it, looking for them, creating a narrative in my mind and in my heart, and going and starting the grieving process of what this would look like for him and for our family if you're not actually saying that's what it is. And he respected that and said, I think you're right. It's time to see some other doctors and go down that path. But right now, we're not saying that's exactly what it is. When I walked out, I'm like, oh my gosh, did I make the right decision? Did I say the right thing? Should I have told him to tell me everything? Like, do I need to go do all this research now? And you know, when you go down that Google rabbit hole, it is like giving you a lot of good information, but also a lot of terrifying information, because I'm emotionally heightened and like in shock because a diagnosis was something that we had removed completely off of the table for the last year, so it hasn't even been in the back of my mind. I called my husband and I was telling him what happened, and I'm like, did I do the right thing? Should I have told him to tell me everything? And he said, no, that was the right thing, because we're not there. We're not a name it and claim it kind of family by any means, but we do believe that there is weight to our words and to our behaviors and things that we do. As I was talking to him on the phone in the car on our way home, that we weren't going to go down that road right now. Instead, that we are just going to need to really pray about this and ask people to surround us in prayer so that when we do go and get that testing, that it is something that was just a blip in the story and in his story. And then we keep moving forward. Because if we, you know, and it's hard. Like, I pick up my phone multiple times a day and I want to type something in of like, what is this? What does this look like? How does it present itself? What signs should I be looking out for? But I have to stop and put my phone down and pray, or just have a moment where I'm like, this is hard, but we're not there. And sometimes when we are waiting for something like this and we try to have all the answers before we actually have the answers, we start the grieving process before we necessarily even have something to grieve. There's going to be months in between before we actually have answers, and it is definitely torturous. So I want to encourage you, if you are someone that is waiting for answers and knowing what's next, not letting it consume you, to be careful with your heart and to be careful with your mind and what you're putting yourself through right now before you necessarily have an actual answer, and going through that grieving process before you actually might necessarily need to. If you are someone that is going through this, I am sorry. And if you are comfortable with it, leave a comment down below. You don't need to give details. But I would just love to add you to a list of people that I can be praying for during this time and until you have your answers, and praying for the better outcome. If you're interested in hearing about how our son became our son, then you can click this video right here and I will see you over there.